microphone to talk into. Yeah, I would have.
But she might. She said she might.
He's totally convinced that it's right for this.
It's gonna be our own
It's the
freaking
end.
demise.
Yeah, exactly. He's totally convinced that it's already, it's the beginning stages.
We doing that first one on the minor or the major?
Major C.
We are doing it on the C.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I give it to you or no?
You did.
You
Yeah,
did.
it does see on the chart, but I think in rehearsal.
In
we
rehearsal,
just
we didn't
stopped
do
on
that.
A minor.
Did we?
Yeah. But
Okay.
I'm fine with the C.
That's
Okay.
fine, we'll just-
Yeah. It should be C for sure. I'm so hungry. I.
Can you take some of the break?
Well, if I eat it, I'm trying to sing. No, it's okay. I don't want to. After the first tune, maybe I'll go out and get some. Seriously. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't hear you.
Awesome.
It'll hold to the end.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna put it here and I'll walk out with it after. Okay. Let's do just super short because it's already there. 3, 4. Last time.
Hey, Rev, how are you? Good to see you. Oh, yeah, nutty. Oh, but it's great.
I have to get your guys' opinion on something. I don't know if I'll have time today, but if not today, then maybe next week. But I gotta get your opinion on the ending of that tune. Just the switch, right? One, 2, 3, 4. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Alright. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
All right, all right. I can't hold my breath that long. All right, so how are we all doing out there? Yeah, really? It really sounds like it. So how are we doing out there? All right, that's more like it. Let's wave and say hi to those folks online. So, I think my mom's watching today. Hi, Mom. And let's take a moment to, well, first of all, my name's Reverend Michael McMorrow. I think you all know that. And welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, where we welcome all who practice their beliefs and faith and love. We have a little thing that we call hugs and handshakes. And if you're online, we're shaking your hand right now and giving you a big old hug. Everybody merengue. Is that what that is? Or salsa? Merengue? All right. As long as I keep my suit jacket pulled down. All right. So please help me welcome. Yeah. That's not what I was thinking, but anyway. Please help me welcome Reverend Kathy Lyons, our head of practitioners this year. Animal ministry, presider. So let's all take a deep, conscious breath. Exhale, sigh it out. Go ahead. You made it to church. Good job. Good start of the week. As we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith, and we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Kathy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light the 10th candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center. And as Reverend Kathy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
In this moment, in this place, I remember I am letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only
as we recognize that there is only love, that God is love, and that love is in every aspect of our life, in our mind, body, and all our affairs. And so we just know right now that this Sunday celebration is an opportunity to feel that love, that loving presence through Reverend Mike's talk, through our music, through the people doing the sound, through everyone here. It is a loving, we're just experiencing that loving presence of God as we feel lifted and enlightened in every part of our life. And we know right now that we are feeling love, that divine love adjusts everything within ourselves, on this planet, everywhere, that there is peace and harmony that prevails. And regardless of what we see on the outer, we know right now that we are creating a peaceful, harmonious coexistence in a world that works for everyone. And so let us just give thanks, give glorious thanks for this beautiful, loving service and this life and this world that works for everyone. And so with gratitude, we release these words to the law as we know it is so, and together we say, and so it is. Okay, good morning again. And I would just like to say that this week, for the CSL's theme, August is compassion, and this week it's accepting what is. And this is quite timely because I'm participating in the Wednesday class, the Energy of Money, and this next chapter in Maria Nema's book, The Energy of Money, is about forgiveness. And forgiveness is a central principle in almost every metaphysical book I've written about prosperity and creating a successful life, because if we're holding on to old grudges, old beliefs, we're not going to leave room and any space open to create anything, create anything new. If we're going back and blaming others for maybe what we feel went wrong in our life, that's not, we're not living a peaceful existence. Maria says that forgiveness releases energy that is bound to judgments of people for what they did in the past. And she says forgiveness occurs when you systematically lay aside conclusions that you have reached about other people and their motivations. One of the things that I've felt known, that when I harbor resentments, a lot of times it does keep me moving forward and doing things that I want to do. And another thing that Maria Nemeth talks about too, that when we're talking about, when we find faults in other people or what they did in the past, a lot of times what we start doing, we gather evidence to support that conclusion, and maybe we go around telling other people, what an ogre that person was, and then pretty soon it builds up this whole resentment and then, a belief, a false belief about that person. And I think about this, how this exists in the media. How many times, like now, we go online and we can post stuff about people, and then we get other responses to support that conclusion. Personally, I have Facebook, but I don't say anything negative about anybody. It's just, I don't want to get into that, into that energy. And, we think about how then this is what perpetuates race consciousness. We start saying that there's something that this is bad and that's bad, and then pretty soon it becomes a whole collective belief. I've even seen that with animals. Like, there's a big belief about pit bulls or vicious dogs because we read a lot about that evidence, and it's not really true. Another thing, too, about posting stuff about people, they call it cyberbullying, that I guess exists with younger people, and that can do a lot of damage. Now, this week for CSL, they talk about accepting what is. Now, there's a lot of things on the news that I've seen that, is challenging for me to accept what is. But I really believe that it's people like us who are going to turn away from that and really focus on what is it that we really want to create. A world that works for everyone, to meditate and pray every day about having peace and harmony. And if there's enough people to support that conclusion, I feel like maybe we can shift things. Sometimes looking at the news isn't pleasant. H.B. Jeffries, who wrote The Principles of Healing, and he said this in the 1930s, that he didn't believe in hell, but if you want to go to hell, just read the newspaper. And, turn on CNN or MSNBC, Fox News. There's no hell, just look at that stuff. But, I think that we can neutralize all this stuff by our own uplifting our own thoughts and focusing what do we want right now. Maria Nemeth says, as we forgive, you stop the process of being trapped in what you fear and dislike. You liberate yourself from old structures had on you. It allows you to let go of the ties you have bound to the other person in a negative way. Now, this is in alignment with Ernest Holmes. Refuse to see the negative side of anyone. He says, a man may have many shortcomings, but he who loves gratefully, much will be forgiven. So, I invite you, be good to yourself. Let go of those old grudges and live in the present so you're free to do what you want to do. Thank you, and so it is.
One, two, three, four.
Mystery to me. We have agreed with which we have agreed. and you think you have to want more than you need. Until you have it all, you won't be free. Society, you're a crazy breed. I hope you're not lonely without me. Society is crazy indeed. I got everything inside of me. When you want more than you have, you think you need. And when you think more than you want, your thoughts begin to bleed. I think I need to find a bigger place. 'Cause when you want more than you have, you need more space. Society, you're a crazy breed. I hope you're not lonely without me. Society is crazy indeed, but I got everything inside of me. Less is more. But if less is more, then why are we keeping score? Means for every point they make, our level drops. Now why would you do this to your own thoughts? Now why would you do this to your own thoughts? Society, crazy indeed, but I got everything inside of me. Society, have mercy on me. Hope you're not angry if I disagree, but I am free. Yes, I am free. I am free if I choose to be, and we are free. Yes, we are free. We are free if we choose to be.
That was beautiful. Now I'm going to invite Andrea for our announcements.
Thank you, Kathy. That was amazing, yes? Wow. Ken, that was beautiful. Thank you. that really made me think about how free I really am, you know? How free I am and how everything that I need I have within me. I don't think I always knew that. In fact, I know I didn't always know that. So I'm going to highlight some announcements this morning. Good morning, everybody. You look wonderful. Marvelous. You know, you have some announcements in your program, hopefully. And there's a few things in there that I'm saying that look new to me. One of them is the Lay Pastoral Care volunteer sheet. You know, we have a ministry here called Lay Pastoral Care, and they provide services to people who are maybe, you know, can't get out of the house, hospital visits, things like that. So if you're interested in serving in that ministry, or if you need services from that ministry, there's a flyer in your program today that will put you in touch with Jeannie Sterrett, practitioner Jeannie Sterrett. There's also, and this should be in the program every week, a sheet for the giving basket. So we have a giving basket that we draw from once a month that will provide a small donation to the charity of your choosing. So please, the basket is usually out front in the main lobby. So please go ahead and fill that out if you feel inclined to give to a particular charity, and we'll do that on your behalf. And also, there's a flyer today in your program on ministerial services that are available to you, as well as practitioner services. And I want to remind you that if you would like prayer for any particular reason to support you in an area that is going really well for you, or a challenge that you might be having, there are ministers and practitioners available for you after service to pray with you. And it's our honor to be able to do that with you. So please take advantage of that. Now, also today, Suzanne Jensen, our wonderful practitioner, facilitates the healing support group at 1 o'clock today. Suzanne, is that in the back room? Thank you. That's going to be in the back room where the children's church is. Also, Summer Sangha Spiritual Cinema. Summer Sangha Spiritual Cinema is ongoing until, I think, August 23rd will be the last one, I believe. So the 16th and the 23rd are still available for you to come on Wednesday morning at 9:30, bring some food to share, and watch some uplifting movie. I think they're watching movies right now. Also, upcoming is Brenda Silas Moore is having her concert at Vitello's restaurant on Tahunga Avenue in Studio City. That's coming up next Sunday night at 8 o'clock, and our wonderful band is going to be supporting her. So if you're interested in tickets, you have to call Vitello's, and it's up there so you can see how to spell it and all that, and they will reserve a seat for you. I know we did have a table going. Suzanne, are there still seats at that table? Okay, so there is a table going. There's a group of people that will be going to support Brenda in her concert. Yes? You can go online and okay. Yeah. Okay, great. So go online and reserve your seat for Brenda's concert. And finally, it seems like there's something I'm forgetting, but finally, remember Amazon smile.com. If you purchase through Amazon, a small percentage of what you purchase will come here to the church if you set it up that way. So go online and take care of that, and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Kathy.
So please stand for our Declaration of Principles. We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. Free in the Spirit. I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I'm only here for God. Here we go now. I'm only here for God. One more time, yeah. I'm only here for God.
All right. That was good. Thank you. You all sound good. Yeah, almost as good as a bunch of Protestants. And that's saying something. So thank you, Reverend Kathy. That was a lovely message this morning. Yes? Yeah, let's give her some. Yeah. Nice job, band. And today's talk title is Accepting What Is. These things are were set up a year ago. So it's accepting what is, and in light of what happened on Friday night and on Saturday, yesterday, in Charlottesville, Virginia, well, I'm heartbroken, I'm dismayed, I'm angry, a little steamed up. And the rise of white nationalists and neo-Nazis and the hate and bigotry that they teach, the lies they spread, the weapons they hide themselves behind are unacceptable. I'm not going to accept what is in this area. So if it's unacceptable to yell fire in a crowded theater, it is certainly unlawful to incite riotous behavior. So this is not Ferguson. This is not Ferguson. This is using a Confederate statue to incite hate and violence, which is, by the way, the only thing these statues represent. They're not honoring the war dead. They're honoring an old institution. So, hey, you know what? You lost the war. Get over it. It's been 100 years. It took 100 years to get the Voting Rights Act passed after that. Enough is enough. And if that kind of rubs you the wrong way, there are practitioners here to pray for you. And me after the service. So this is what I know. My vision for this center, right? So I'm sticking with the things that I that I know I have power over in my immediate circle. That my vision for this center is one of love, of compassion, of caring, and safety, free of bigotry or hate of any kind. And I have had to do my own work in this hate of any kind component. I've had to do my own work around extending these principles and this idea to all people. And I admit that. Right? I'm a recovering redneck. So I had to figure out that, I could love, just because I loved men didn't mean that, and that sometimes I feel like a girly man, and so I had to redefine what all that was. And the scales of prejudice have fallen away, and my heart is softened for all people. And because I did the work, right? And I sought out friendships with people that I wasn't, and I came to witness that love isn't held bound by gender. So, there's been a lot of work that I've done in this area. And religious science, frankly, well, actually, I suppose it started with 12-step, when a buddy of mine died from AIDS back in the 80s. I really liked him, and I thought he was a great guy. And I realized, wow, actually, I loved Ray. I didn't want to sleep with him, right? But I loved him. There's a lot of other men. So you kind of open the door for that to be okay. Right? But who's making it okay? Me. It's always me. It's always us. So I understand that there's a lot of suffering out there beyond these four walls. And as a man and as a minister, I often feel powerless over the conditions in the lives of others. But I can change my own thinking. I can change my thinking and change my life to help lift others in love, in compassion, and understanding. And hopefully by that example, encourage others to do the same. To encourage others to be courageous in this endeavor. And to understand that there is honor in this work. That it's an honorable thing to do. So I may not be able to provide you with a place to live, a new car, to put down the drink or a fix, to find you a lover to soothe your weary brow. But you can come here in safety, and if you choose to, feel and experience the healing power, the infinite heart of the Holy Spirit itself expressing as each one here, and then by extension as this place. This very place itself. And in this way, we can all be lifted up and then be inspired to go out and address any condition in our life, including the outer conditions that it appears that we are powerless over, which is a falsehood. Because it all begins in consciousness. It all begins in consciousness. So I can point the way. I can even walk the path with you. And I want to do that. But I can't do it for you. I can't do it for you. So in order to do this, in order to have this experience of the law of life, we must practice compassion and empathy. Compassion and empathy as acceptance for what is. Even as I acknowledge that acceptance is within a given construct. Acceptance is within a given construct. That construct is that your beliefs are anchored in a commitment to faith and love as well, or at least to be willing to be so, even if or when you are questioning belief itself. Even when we are having maybe even a crisis in faith, that even then you can come here in safety and be loved up. This is true for first-time visitors. It's true for long-time members. Has to be. That's my commitment. So Ernest Holmes said this about compassion. He recognized that sympathy and compassion were important components of this teaching, that they are the ties that bind us together in mutual understanding and in the unified attempt to uncover the divinity in each other. That sympathy is the most gentle of all human virtues. So you wouldn't think Holmes would be speaking about sympathy, right? Empathy might be the word that you would expect him to use, but he used this word sympathy. For it is the outpouring of divine givingness through man. So as we come together in our shared suffering then, what happens? We experience the divine. We experience an expression of the divine. So I think about the times that I have sat with someone, and had an experience, someone who's been working through some stuff, and had an experience of something welling up within me that was saying the right things in the right way at the right time, that I know it was the Spirit working through me. Yes? I know some of you have had this, yes? Right? And if you haven't, then the trick is to work with others. To work with others. To have an experience of the divine as each other. It's a very powerful, life-changing experience. Available to anyone. In spite of what you think about yourself, your consciousness, your sinful nature, whatever your hang-up is, in spite of that, you can have an experience of the divine by simply opening your heart to another. So in order to practice acceptance, we are going to have to practice sympathy and compassion. And frankly, that sympathy and compassion may need to be practiced with bigots and unlawful haters while they are in a jail cell. Just saying. Because there's nothing like doing time to consider the consequences of one's actions. And if you want to live in a situation with a lot of hate in it, you can hang out there because, brother, there's a lot of it. But even in there, you can transcend. You can transcend that. And that hateful thinking. So maybe you're thinking, hey, man, this is a bit too much. I'm supposed to be coming here on Sunday. Get away from all this. Now, who am I to judge what's going on out there? For after all, doesn't religious science teach that the very judgment by which I judge others becomes a self-judgment? Well, yes, this is a concept in our teaching, right? Or don't we teach that oneness and inclusion, especially with those that we disagree? Yes, we do teach that. But this is not an opportunity to do a spiritual bypass and just say, oh, God is all there is. To me, there should be an aching heart looking at these images and reading about what's happening in the United States of America. So, yes, we do teach oneness and inclusion, especially with those with whom we disagree. Also true. In fact, and so in this way then, we actually take a hit from traditional thought systems, faith systems, that say that we practice moral relativism. Moral relativism. Maybe you've heard of this. that relativism, there are many forms of relativism which vary in their degree and of controversy. The term often refers to truth relativism, which is the doctrine that there are no absolute truths, i.e., that truth is always relative to some particular frame of reference, such as language or culture. And so we've been hearing a lot of this the last couple of years, that, well, I believe that it's true, so therefore it's true. That's relativism. Or as Shakespeare said through Hamlet, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Now, is that really what we teach here? Is that really what we're practicing? And in a way, if you think about it, all thought systems practice relativism. Traditional churches are practicing relativism. It's just that their judgments on interpretations are biblical, and hence Judeo-Christian, of an absolute God acting in absolute truth in absolute ways. And if only it were this simple, we'd stop arguing right away. But anyone who's read the Bible in a conscious way knows that it's full of stories that are contradictory. That God is contradictory in the Bible. And so much so that a true believer, in order to make sense of it, says, well, you know, it's just the Word of God, and so then I just believe it blindly. The Bible says it, and that settles it. But actually, it would be much more accurate to say that my pastor said it, so I believe it. My reverend said it. The bishop says it. The pope says it, so I believe it. So it must be so. In other words, it's all relative. Yes? It's all relative to interpretation and perception. And there's nothing in there to encourage the person to go deeper into the inquiry and into the questioning. If you really want to have an experience of the divine, you really have to be comfortable within the tension of knowing and not knowing. It is a sacred mystery, this idea of faith. And when we have it, it is a gift. It's a gift. And if we move through periods of doubt, that too is a gift. But not a gift like, oh good, I can set this load down for a while. But rather to go deeper. To go deeper. And if your heart is hardening, then you're probably on the wrong path. There's been a conversation going on in our country for some time now that has an edge and a hardness to it. Pick yourself up by your own bootstraps. So the Planned Parenting thing, right? So that's all moral stuff. It's all relative. So what to do? So what is the philosophical path out of this dilemma? Well, it's philosophical, so that's part of the problem, right? But the science of mind teaches that we take our good where we find it. So this is why we light the candles every week, not just to give you 5 minutes more to get to church on time, right? We light the candles to recognize that there are many paths to the one Spirit. So, are there behaviors in the human realm that are unacceptable? Yes. And at the same time, where can we find common ground? That's really the issue. We can stay focused on our differences, and you know what? We're going to stay stuck. We're going to stay stuck. And you know what? Then the whole gig is up. It's just a matter of time before we go the way of the dinosaurs. It is time. We have evolved into this biological creature with this biological brain. It's now time to evolve in consciousness to allow the second coming to come forth in courageous ways by means of each one of us, in ways that are universal in nature and that build a sense of oneness and connection and love and compassion for all peoples, for all beings, really. So where to start? If we're going to find common ground, how about the sanctity of human life? And before we go down some of the rabbit holes in there, how about if we just start with the sanctity of human life of those of us who are up and walking around and breathing? Regardless of where we are on the scale, even if we're hooked up to a machine, the sanctity of human life. Can we start there? Thou shalt not kill. That's something we can all agree on. That's something all of these guys agree on. The sanctity of human life. Thou shalt not kill. All right, so if we're going to accept that, can we agree to not allow ourselves to hate? Because hate can feed the urge to kill. Can we work with that one? And if we say yes to that, are we willing to agree to do our own work to be free of resentment? Well, mostly. Except the ones that I really like. Because resentment then leads to hate if we don't deal with it. So remember resentment, resentir, right? To live again and again and again. So if you have a thought that just won't go away, that doesn't serve your highest good, you're nursing a resentment. So how does that work for you? How's that working? So to be free of resentment as soon as we can. Right? Because some of them, we just got to chew on that old piece of fat for a while before we're ready to spit it out, yeah? And sometimes that resentment can be against God itself. That's a tough one. So can we agree on at a secular level to table sanctions on moral behavior, except where hate is involved? That's kind of a big one. Because so much of these faith systems have this moral thing tied into it. But can we step away from that? And never mind calling us a bunch of relativists. We're trying to open the field. We're trying to find ways of connection. And to maybe even tease some absolute truths in that. And even then, to find compassion for the hater. Not to give him a pass. Not to give him a pass. Acceptance, by the way, is not resignation. So what this really is what we teach. And what we teach is a call to personal responsibility. It may not look like that, but each one of us are responsible for our own consciousness. So yes, there are things going on out there in the world of statistics, right? In the law of averages, as Thomas Troyer would say. Yeah, but you are not a statistics, and the law of averages apply to groups, and you are not a group. You are an individual. You are more than that. You are the individualized expression of the divine itself. And so the only thing that is keeping us held bound then is ourselves. Even within some of the most heinous systems, the only thing keeping ourselves held bound is ourselves. Nelson Mandela wrote to this eloquently. So we must be the change. We must be the change. Each of us in the human family, are responsible for our own thinking, for our own actions, for our own consciousness. That love points the way, that the law makes the way possible, and compassion points the way to love. And in finding our way to compassion, we find our way to the divine. So that Holmes says that we can have an understanding, of divine compassion, we can have no understanding of divine compassion unless we ourselves first exercise compassion. That the very judgment by which we judge others becomes a self-judgment. It is as if the law of life were giving back to each one of us exactly what we have projected into it, as though everything that goes out from us must again return by the law of action and reaction, which is exactly true. Yes? That is the teaching. So not a law of cause and effect where we are paying for past crimes and past lives, but rather that we are, or that we are being punished for our sins, but rather by our sins, by our error. So what does a world that let me go here. So it kind of begs the question for me, what do you want from life? What do you want from life? Beyond the needs of your individual existence, because we all want and need a little something, something. But what does a world that works for all look like for you? Are you afraid of the Almighty in some way? Are you afraid of hellfire or damnation? Are you afraid of some devil? Are you afraid of Armageddon? Right? With all this talk, are you afraid of Armageddon? And I would just say, how is that working for you? Instead, what if we could drop the shield of fear and blind belief to consider that the only thing working against you and me is our thinking? What if you and I believe that there's only one power expressing itself in, through, and as this manifest universe? What if it's true what the Jewish mystics said, that we are all sons and daughters of the Most High, that the Father is within, that it is done unto you and to me as we believe, that it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the keys to a life that is abundant, and that we can live it abundantly, that we can, greater things shall we do. That's right out of the man's mouth. That's not something Paul stuck there. Greater things. He did some pretty crazy things, man. What if he's the great example rather than the great exception? Right? So that's a call to love. That's a call to love. That's a call to compassion. It's a call to courage. Right? So the other thing that Jesus did was he spoke up. Right? So remember, trying to do the English version, let those among you without sin cast the first stone. That's like one of the first lessons. Remove the log from your own eye. In other words, get your own stuff straight. So when we hear hate speech of any kind, we need to think of, Reverend Nancy or Kitty or Susanna or Wayne or Reverend Betsy or anyone else who's been subjected from one of these groups. This is our work to do. This is our work to do. And that we have the infinite power and presence and heart of the universe backing our play. So thanks for being so attentive. Let's take a deep breath, call the musicians up. So today, with all that's going on in the world today, the stuff at home and abroad, let's just breathe into this idea that we are keeping holy the Sabbath. We are keeping our eyes single on the ultimate truth that God is. So as we contemplate that today, God is. How can I look around and cultivate that in practice into my life today? Look for all the way. Maybe you can keep a tally sheet. Oh, there's God. There's God. There's God. The dude panhandler out in front of 7-Eleven. There's God. So, and then in this way, allow ourselves to soften and to feel a moment of compassion that may even lead to a sense of love. and to cultivate that into our work week, in our offices, in our families, in our relationships. And then come back next week and we'll see how things are shifted.
I've always put up my fences and held my defenses in front of me, not knowing my heart was imprisoned till you gave me wisdom to find the key. I'm ready to begin. I'm open, love's coming in when you move through me, when you move through me. You give me the confidence to take back my innocence through me. I've always lived in delusion, trapped in the illusions of doubt and fear, not knowing that change would come my way, till I drove a highway that was free and clear from all my regrets. I'm open to what's coming next when you move through me, when you move through me. You give me the confidence to take back my innocence through me. And I am tired of all my excuses, and I close my eyes, and the one thing that I know is true, there's nothing that I can't do when you move through me, when you move through me. You give me the confidence to take back my innocence when you move through me, when you move through me. You give me the confidence to take back my innocence when you move
Nicely done. Thank you, Ken. Let's give us more love. Huh? Well, that's a song by Laura Berman, who will be here on November 4th on a Wednesday night. So, mark your calendars.
Yeah, she's super good.
Yes, super good. And I'm going to drop her a note and let her know you did her song today.
Tell her.
She'll get a kick out of that. All right, so as we prepare our gifts for the offering, call our ushers forward. And I'll let the kids in a minute because I can hear them on the other side.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me. Spirit lives and breathes through me. Oh, Spirit lives and breathes through me.
Hi, Piper. Okay, so just going within for just a moment longer, recognizing and knowing that the gifts presented here this morning are a demonstration of consciousness that knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. And so from the generous heart from which these gifts have been offered here this morning, we, representing the heart of this community, accept these gifts with deep appreciation, respect, and love, as we know they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless. The vision and mission and life of each one here this morning and anyone connected to our center in any way, that we know this blessing for our friends in this community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, for our planet as well, that we know all of it is a demonstration from the very mind of Spirit itself. And knowing this lifts our hearts and allows us to live in ways that are more loving, more compassionate, more giving, in ways of spiritual living that lift ourselves and others. And we are grateful, and together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. So please help me thank our ushers this morning, lovely Rita, Miss Chloe. So how are we doing today? What did you guys do today? Well, let me get you a microphone so we can hear you. You there, Mike? Yeah, okay. All right, so tell them your name.
Alex.
Alex, and so, oh, there you go. That looks like a shamrock.
Yes, it is.
Cool, so what'd you do with it?
Cut it out.
It says something. What does it say?
Well, it says, I love God.
Very nice. Thank you. And how about you? Did you do the same thing?
No?
What's your name?
Harper.
Harper. And?
Piper.
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 All right, so you want to show everybody what you guys did? Yeah. Very nice. And, yeah, nicely done. So thank you, teachers. Thank you, parents, for getting your kids here. And grandparents. Yeah, however it happens. Thanks for bringing your kids. And we're going to invite our practitioners and ministers to circle the room as we give some more love to the band. Thank you. Great job today. And Reverend Kathy's going to pray us out.
Chloe, I just want to invite Chloe up. She has an announcement.
I just want to shout out to my parents, but mostly I want to, I'm officially a board member in the board of directors, and I got my first paycheck at Joe's Cafe.
And remember that the practitioners here are available to do treatment for you after the service. So just join me in consciousness as we just recognize this power and presence in life, which is a life of God, which is a life of love and forgiveness and acceptance. And we know that we're one with this presence of God's love and forgiveness and acceptances. So right here and right now, as we just know right now that if we've accepted what is, that we now move forward to create a life that works for everyone, and that we feel that loving presence of God in every day in every way, and that we just know right now as we are uplifted that the world is uplifted as well. And so we do give glorious thanks for this beautiful Sunday celebration with Reverend Mike, our musicians, our people on the sound, and everyone here. And so with deep faith, trust, and conviction, I release these words with gratitude, knowing it is done, knowing it is so, and together we say, and so it is.
Please stand for the peace song. Thank you very much. Thank you.